All right, everybody, it's time for you to get out and nominate your favorite podcasts. There's a show I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast in 3 categories: education, storyteller and drama, and arts. For 5 years and with over 280 weekly episodes and 64 million plus downloads, the Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast has provided advice and tips from international best-selling authors, world-class artists, contest judges and winners, and industry professionals. It is based on the world-famous Writers of the Future contest created in 1983 by L. Ron Hubbard to help the aspiring writer and artist no matter their age, race, ethnicity, or gender. It is dedicated to the future of storytelling and art by showing that it is never too late to start, and those who make it are those who never give up. We are all busy, but I'd be so grateful if you could take a moment and vote now. Go to podcastawards.com to nominate the Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast in any or all 3 of the categories: education, storyteller drama, or art.
Hey, welcome everybody to the Tuesday night edition of Into the Night with me, Sean Kelly. How is everybody doing tonight? I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so excited that the last 2 weeks, well, this whole past month, I have met some very interesting people on as guests. And I do enjoy talking to them before the show. So, Mr. Wojo, we are going to have a good show. And yes, you can ask them that question when they come on the show. How's the coffee and donuts? Hello, Michelle. Good to see you. Thank you for joining in. What a beautiful day today. I don't know. I woke up, went to work, and had a good day. It just seems like everything is going great. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? I am not going to wait for the other shoe to fall down because I'm enjoying the moment. Okay. So I don't have that much time since it's only like about 50 minutes or so, but I want to read my guest's bio. Okay. Eric and Tim Vogel had their first interaction with Bigfoot since 1976, when something with big feet went through their backyard. We both have been fortunate over the years researching and investigating to have visual sightings, many other types of potential experiences, such as rocks, sticks thrown, tree pushes, howling whistles, knocking, escorted out of the woods, complete twisted saplings, orbs, and we also have 6 casts we have taken over the years. We've been asked to speak at events and libraries. Now we're looking for speaking opportunities. Tim works as a full-time ranger on a 1,300-acre private property camp, and Eric is retired, which allows plenty of time for researching potential areas. Eric and Tim have 20-plus years owning Tikoa Mountain Outdoors. It's an outdoor education adventure business. New York Wilderness Outdoor Guides for 10 years. have done 4 to 5 expeditions over the years, and our new adventure is Cobble Mountain Critter Project. And later on in the show, I'm going to have them explain what it is. I think it's like really, really interesting. But I want you guys to hear it from them. Hey, Squatch Man, good to see you. And and then we'll give you the web page and all that stuff toward the end of the show. And without further ado, and I'm really totally excited about having them guys on my show tonight, is Tim and Eric Vogel, the Vogel Brothers. Hey, gentlemen.
Hey, how are you?
How you doing?
Hey, Wojo wants to know how was the coffee and donuts I had set back there for you.
They were awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You see that? Yeah, I take care of my people. So how you guys doing, man?
Doing well. Glad to be here.
You guys look great. I've talked to you, Eric, a while, and I haven't really talked to Tim that much, but I've talked to Eric, and they're both excited of coming on the show. Richie B says, "Let's go." Yes, we are going right now, brother. Aim high. Richie says, "What's up, my dudes?" He wants to know how you guys are doing.
We're doing just.
Yeah. That's cool.
So,
give us a little, tell the people out there around the world and in the United States, tell them a little bit about yourselves and how you actually started into the Bigfoot.
Like you were saying on the intro, it was 1976. We actually went and saw the movie. It was Sasquatch the Legend, and when that first came out, and we hiked from West Springfield into Agawam, saw the movie, came back, and that had to be November or something back then. And then it was December, snow on the ground, when something with big feet came walking through our backyard, and literally through our backyard. They had the newspaper, the police, they had all kinds of, it was a big to-do because this had never happened before.
Right. It was always been a West Coast thing.
Yeah. But since the movie had come out, apparently, now it's an East Coast thing. But this actually showed up on our backyard. We had a large property that went down through the Westfield River, and then it crossed the river and into the Agawam, into Robinson State Park. And they were there for a couple days. We had investigators like we are today. That's kind of weird, but yeah, from back then, we were hiking actually with the investigators, following these tracks all the way down past the railroad over to the Westfield River. And that's as far as we could go because we couldn't cross the river. It was, that was our limit. But yeah,
before you guys go on, I forgot to mention old Richie B and Wojo get mad at me, but you are also part of their group, Boots on the Grind, Bigfoot Investigations, man. And those two guys have talked so much about you. They really have. I mean,
not all right.
It's all great. Cindy Simpson, hello, good to see you, hon. But so we were talking a little bit before the show. Before I get into that question, how many experiences have you had? Have you had them when you were like younger, or have you had them recently?
Since 2013, that we can attribute to what we believe a Bigfoot experience.
Right, exactly.
Tree shaking, howling, growling, all that stuff. Yeah, legit. It was way out in the New York wilderness. It happened. There's no doubt in my mind what happened.
Did you guys know that I do believe that if you look at the top 15 states of Bigfoot sightings, do you know all the states almost are like here on the East Coast, like you said before? Pennsylvania's ranked 12th.
No, it's the habitat in New England's changing all the time, meaning the logging, large-scale logging, small-scale logging, farming, that all, you get a clear cut here this year, and 20 years later, it's got a whole different vegetable group in it, being trees, saplings, bark buds, whatever animal growth. So it's always changing. It's not just old growth forest or very mature forest. It blends from acres of corn to acres of saplings to old maple forest, stuff like that. It's got
So
a good diversity.
why do you think that? Do you think that the Bigfoot are afraid of humans, or do you think that they want to know more about us like we want to know about them?
I don't think.
Eric, don't think.
They don't want to. They're an animal. I don't think they want to be anywhere near you as much as you don't want to be near them. Well, except for us, of course.
Right.
But nor the rest of the world doesn't want to be next to them or near them.
Right.
So
I agree.
On a regular basis, I would say no. They stay away.
Yeah, I would say I put it. I know we talk about the woo factor and all that stuff, but what we believe it's still a flesh and blood, whether it can change or not. I believe if that is the case, then I believe what we see here is at least flesh and blood, and it's making tracks. People have shot it, it's bled, things like that. So for as far as witnesses and things that have happened, it's all says that it's flesh and blood.
Right.
People add the woo factor to it. Can it transport in portals? Orbs, we've talked about that a bit. It's all speculative and it's all possibly real, but who knows?
Okay, so we talked about. I told you I was going to ask you this question on air, so I'm not putting you in a tight spot. But my brother came up with a question to ask you guys. When you go out and you look on the ground and you see a Bigfoot imprint, okay, and you make a cast, do you go beyond trying to find more feet? You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely.
We'd call it a trackway.
That is how I got my first cast. We actually went back the next day, found that print, got screamed at going in from the top of the mountain. Went in, found that print, and we were casting that print, and we were looking further out, and 7 feet away is where we picked up another print or another half a print because it scraped the root of the tree that was there. It pulled the bark off, but you can't cast the root.
Right.
But we do have the impression that it made, and when you put the two together, you can see it's from the same creature because it's the same depth.
Okay.
So all
good.
looking for more evidence.
Yeah. So we went right back to the very spot that he saw it on a rock.
The whole thing.
The whole, checking out the height, all that stuff, and then do a concentric circle from there, and then we found it. And that was that one track, and that led to another track 7 feet away. So I guess the longer answer is yeah, we absolutely look for more tracks than just the one, because it had to get there. It's very odd that we as in the Bigfoot community and other communities, people out there tracking cougars and pumas and stuff like that. They're walking a trackway and they're seeing it for a long ways.
Yeah.
We get a big track and it's a handful
one
of
or
tracks.
two if you're lucky.
It's like what's going on? So it's out there. We've seen it. We know other people have seen it. We've seen it with other people, and yet we've only got a couple of tracks. So.
And you got it's such a big creature, weighing 900 pounds, that you would think it would leave more than just one or two tracks.
Right. And we did talk about that earlier, and you know how I feel, and I'll tell my people. I really believe that UFOs correlate with the Bigfoot. I think, and I mean, I'm no expert on it. I'll be the first one to tell you. But for all the Bigfoot investigators that I have talked to over the years of doing radio, they seem to claim that Bigfoot jumped from different universes, parallels. You know what I mean? Different. I forgot the name of that word. Welcome to my age. But
yeah.
but they jump from one parallel into another one with the help of UFOs. What do you all think of that?
I'm not sure
I
about
know you. I know you have a story for it too.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure about the UFO part of it, but I do believe that the orbs and them they coincide with each other somehow.
Yeah.
Because we put them together, orbs and Bigfoot. So
multiple times, different events, multiple people, different people, and there's been orbs. So to discount orbs and the possibility of transport or portals or something like that,
and that's why you only come up
I
with
would
a
say
couple
is
times.
irresponsible, because plenty of people have seen the two together within the same story, the same happenstance. So you can't just discount it, no matter how bad you want it to be flesh and blood. And there's probably no one out there more than me that wants it to be flesh and blood.
What would you guys do if you actually saw a Squatch? What would you go to it, shake its hand? What I mean, what would your reaction? What would your reaction be if that Squatch says, "I'm going to, like show these guys who I am, and I'm going to walk right up to them"? What would you do? What would you do?
I was 40 yards away and I ran right at it.
That's what he did.
Me and another guy, two different angles.
Yeah.
He saw the lower half and I saw the upper half. And when we saw it,
there was a tree down
there. There was a tree. That's why he could only see right. And the guy that was standing between us had a GoPro. And we came into the exact same frame at the exact same time, pointing in the same direction, and we're both running at it.
Yeah.
And when we got there, we're talking 40 yards. When we went 40 yards, this thing was gone.
And all we got was 2 tracks out of it.
That was crazy.
But see, that's where it blows my mind, guys. Okay, like you said, a 900-pound animal. And there has to be. I mean, look at deer tracks, right? When you're going out in the woods, there's all kinds of damn deer tracks. Yeah. And you got an 800, 900-pound Squatch running through the woods, and you only get 2 or 3. Where do they go? Where do they go?
They say that it's a possibility it could be ball lightning, but how coincidental to be wrapped up in a whole story. Right. That acts as a vehicle at the end or in between. It's just kind of weird. They say this ball lightning will happen maybe for seconds, and then it dissipates. And we've seen the ball lightning, and we've seen it for more than 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 seconds. And there was a dozen people that saw it. The night before that experience, where they saw it up in Savoy. That's
when I saw it here at the camp, and I was standing beside a gentleman that's a scientist for Pfizer, and we're standing there and we're looking across the field, and this thing, I don't know, it's about 70 yards away, and in the field there was nothing there. It's just empty. It's just dark, and this ball was about the size of a beach ball. It was like an orangish yellow ball, but the light was inside, not outside. It wasn't shining. And we watched it for almost 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and then it just took off. It just went straight up into the air. And the next day, we saw the Bigfoot.
And they always this ball of energy.
That's great. I think it was an alien or a UFO or some other type of entity. But I have a couple people here. Sebastian Moran says hello to you guys. Charlie Ladd, he's a good dude, man. He's a good friend of mine. He said he would like to see that video from the GoPro where you ran at it. Do you have it?
So he won't give it up. He won't give it up.
The guy won't give it up?
I don't even know if he has it anymore. But yeah, that was a few years back.
We've asked a number of times. We won't go into names or anything, but we've asked. We have.
And why would now? If I was Charlie Ladd or anybody else, I'm probably saying to myself, okay, then why wouldn't he give it to you? Is it just like he wanted? Was he an arsehole and he just held that over your head, like, look what I got, look what I got?
I just didn't want to get involved in it.
No, things where you ask and you either get it or you don't, and didn't pursue it.
Well, wanted to be there, wanted to see one, and then when it actually happened, it freaked them out and probably doesn't want to even go in that direction, which is understandable.
Oh, yeah, it's up to him. Henry says horses and cows, deer and moose, even bear, don't always leave prints. I'd be up to Tim to answer that question, everybody. Noreen St. Martin says, hi, Eric and Tim. Charlie, lad, you're welcome, buddy. But I don't know. It just seems that there should be more evidence. You know what I mean? That's just like me seeing a ghost in a room, right? Full body image, apparition, and then like poof, it's gone. Just like that. A split second. And it's like, so I'm like, okay, so ghosts can do it, but a 900-pound animal can too.
That's
crazy.
the hard to wrap your head around, and
Right.
that's why you got like these different sides of the fences here with the woo. We call it the woo factor. It's flesh and blood, the woo factor, and there's probably a couple others that I'm not aware of yet. But having said that, there's you get on one side or the other in the camps, and that automatically kind of stifles research right there, because now it's just this way. You can't do that and be a researcher and just no, because we've actually seen the orbs and they were tied in with the story, so you can't discount it. So now you got to go eyes wide open and look at everything. Because look at we're talking weird stuff, right? Bigfoots and orbs and all kinds of stuff. So the reality is we don't know what the reality is. We're seeing and don't know how to explain what we're seeing half the time. Most people we talk to, we say, oh, I saw something, but I really don't know. It's like, well,
Or 90% of the time they won't say anything.
Right, exactly. Because I believe, let me see if you all agree with this. They believe that they were taught and brought up a certain way where nothing exists, like ghosts don't exist, like werewolves or the little people out in the woods, the fairies, the fays, and stuff like that. They were taught, and and I can understand. I'm into the business of just explaining my stories, just like you guys are. You know what I mean? And it all depends on how they want to take it. Do they want to take it okay or not? If they think you're a nut job, then you're a nut job. How many times I've been called a nut job, dude? And I kind of laugh. But when I get somebody really shitty and smart talks back at me, I said, were you there when we were investigating? They say no. And I said, then you have no way of judging. But pretty soon I'm going to come up and I'm going to take a little break, and then we're going to talk about do a couple stories, okay? And then I would like to talk about the Cobble Mountain Critter Project. I mean, that would be great. Ladies and gentlemen, please hang around, because this Cobble Mountain Critter Project is so sweet, man. It's so sweet. So I will see you guys in about 40, 30, a minute 10. So if you have to go pee, go pee. If you need to smoke a cigarette, go smoke a cigarette. And we shall see you in 1 minute and 10 seconds. So go get your cup of coffee. Let me try to get this thing going here. Oh, I went a little too far. Okay, here we go.
News on the flip side. It's time for you to get out and nominate your favorite podcast. There's an amazing show I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. The News on the Flip Side, in the category of politics and news. News on the Flip Side is a much different news and political program, which is not deemed as opinion news. Listen as anchor host Joe Montaldo brings you just the facts from trusted sources, which will allow you, the people, to make up your own minds on the various stories being reported on. Go to podcastawards.com to nominate The News on the Flip Side in the category of news and politics. That's podcastawards.com. Please take a moment and vote now.
So, welcome to the second half of the show, Into the Night with me, Sean Kelly. I have a couple people to thank. I want to thank Carnation for sponsoring my show tonight, and they sponsor my Sunday night show. Without Carnation, I would not be able to spend an hour with you on both of those nights. I also want to thank UPRN Talk Radio 105.3 New Orleans, 107.7 Mississippi. And that one commercial, News on the Flip Side, that you just saw, I am a co-host with Joe Montaldo and two other guys. And we talk politics. And, on my show, we can't talk politics because I'll lose a lot of people. And I understand that. But on that Friday night, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, we talk politics and we talk everything. So please vote for it. I mean, that would be great. And if you're not doing nothing on a Friday night at 10 o'clock Eastern, jump on this platform here, and then you'll be able to watch four crazy old men. Well, yeah, four crazy old men just talking politics and shooting the crap. You know what I mean? But my guests, the Vogel Brothers, Tim and Eric. Thank you again. First half of the show, they were explaining a little bit of, I was asking them questions about Bigfoot, their investigations on some of the stuff that they found. So the second half, from what I understand, Tim Vogel has a ton of great stories to tell us. And even though we only got so much amount of time, maybe one or two stories to come in, because I'm really, really interested, because the dude's a ranger, man. He's a ranger. I mean, he goes out there in the wilderness and he guides people through the woods and stuff like that. And man, I tell you what, don't worry. Just like Wojo and Richie B, I'm gonna answering with Richie B. I'm gonna have them back on. Maybe I'll get all four of y'all. Maybe my boss will let me do a 2-hour show. That would be great. But so before we get into the stories, my friend, please tell us about the Cobble Mountain Critter Project.
All right.
You should hear this, ladies and gentlemen.
It is a good one.
It's a fun project. Basically, we were self-employed for many years, and then we gave up a business and sold it. COVID showed up, and then started a new business out of boredom. And we really didn't want to go to work that hard. So we came up with a Bigfooting business, but you can't really get paid for Bigfooting. Well, some can, but most of us can't. Right. So we did what we always did, and we did it for 20-something years with our old business, with outdoor education. So the Cobble Mountain Critter Project is simply that. It's a business that we go around and we work with other businesses, get funds, work on like 5K races, different fundraisers to gain funds for outdoor education. Those funds go back into, we're in the process of making a coloring book about the Cobble Mountain Reservoir up here locally. It's a local thing in the watershed. And then, of course, the Cobble Mountain Critter lives in the watershed. So we're doing a leave no trace kind of a thing with the Cobble Mountain Critter in the watershed on how to use the watershed, so it's respectfully, responsibly, and sustainable. So that's the gist of the Cobble Mountain Critter. So what we did was we took a local legend that's already here, the Cobble Mountain Critter, and started a business.
And we're also give back to the youth.
Yeah. So we go to the different schools within the watershed of the greater Springfield, Massachusetts area, and will be. And then we'll be doing what we call a Cobble Mountain Critter Day. It'll be the 3rd and 4th grade. And the Cobble Mountain Critter Days, the kids will get, pizza and ice cream.
Sort of like back in our day, we had a field day.
Yeah. Right, okay.
Get out and have a good day.
Yeah, and it'll be an outdoor education day.
Yeah.
And they'll do different activities that we'll have. There'll be, trinkets and like water bottles, T-shirts, those things promoting, the Cobble Mountain Critter and the ways to promote the outdoor use and the outdoor land.
So all the proceeds go into outdoor education.
Yeah.
That is like so cool. Like I told that I mean to have a couple brothers to do something for people. Now I'm sure in the other states they have similar projects like that, but I might have to join that because I don't know shit about woods. All right, I don't know the damn thing about woods. Like I said, I'm a city boy, and I'll be honest with you. I might go in 20 yards and I'll say, "That's enough. Let's go back." You know what I mean? So it's like, no, you all going to have to handcuff me and drag me in the woods and stuff like that because I don't know. To me, I just feel when I go gold panning and I'm by the stream and I'm in the woods by the stream, I just feel like that's like heaven right there. I just am so at peace. And I wish I could do your job there, Tim, but I ain't going to do that. But
Well,
for sharing that, everybody, the Cobble Mountain Critter Project. Is there a website for that?
yeah, you can go to the Cobble Mountain Critter Project. It's the Cobble Mountain Critter Project.wordpress.com. Check out the Cobble Mountain Critter Festival. That's coming up in 25. That's next June 7th. We're having the Cobble Mountain Critter Festival. We've got a bunch of speakers. It's cryptid, paranormal, everything weird. And it'll be right here at the camp, right here in Russell, Mass. Yeah. Big to do for us down here because there's not a lot going down here in Central or Western Mass. So this year will be a great big festival. We've got 1,300 acres right here to do it. Plenty of space for speakers. We'll be putting up the speakers. Vendors will be here. Plenty of room. So that in itself will be a big fundraiser for the outdoor education. That'll put us over the top, and it'll make all the books and the publishing happen and stuff like that. So
awesome.
That happened for us. So we're looking for big things to come.
Good. Gene Tewksbury says hello.
Oh, Gene. Gene's going to be.
And
Hi, Gene.
Noreen St. Martin says that's awesome. And it is awesome, Noreen. It really, really is.
Noreen
so, guys, let's
is
go with a story, brother. Go with the best story that you got.
Well, we're gonna do something very recent, and we just came back and did investigation. We went looking and came across some tracks. So we were out with boots on the ground. We were out there with Richie B. We had Wojo. It was Eric and I, and we ended up near Felton Pond in October Mountain State Forest, and we were looking for tracks. It's a giant pond, and it has now dried up, receded. So there's a big shoreline. So traps.
Richie wanted to do a podcast out there,
yeah.
So we took him out there, and of course, here in Western Mass, there is no service. So we had him out there. He was looking for service all over the place, and there just isn't any. So we never got to do the podcast from out there.
Yeah, but we ended up walking around the pond and whatnot.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, we come across this track, and there were lots of different tracks from people and dogs and deer. But this was different. This one was a Bigfoot. It was a large foot track, 17 inches long. It stood out from all the rest, and there were subsequent tracks. But if you look at the story, mind you, I said that the pond had receded because of the sun. It just dried up the pond. Simple as that. So now there's a long shoreline. I believe that this thing was in the water, walking through the water, and came out at that point and then continued up because you could see another track.
One track, and then it was up into the grass.
So there's the trackway for your brother's answer. We believe it was in the pond already. Didn't leave a track, except for the one track we cast and the one track that was in the grass that was really you couldn't really. It's ambiguous. It wasn't worth it.
The only one that you could really cast was the one in the sand.
Right. And that was a decent track after all.
When we cast that track, we actually had to cast it over a rock.
Yeah.
Because of the way the foot stepped in. And I even have the rock that goes into that gap.
It's probably 4 by 4 inches.
It's a good size rock.
And it just, the foot just came in a footfall, just squished it down. So the track, when it was cast, that rock actually came out with the cast.
Inches deep.
So now we've got a cast with this weird rock shape in it. But you take the rock and you can pop it in and out of the cast.
Literally slide it right back into where it came out.
But we spent the day there looking for tracks, casting. Actually, we went back the next day casting it. And so that
That's what
following
boots on the ground did.
we went out and we found that track. We had to build a little teepee shelter over it so nothing else would walk into it or ruin it. And we got lucky; nothing ruined it, and we were able to cast it the following day. But we spent probably a good half a day out in the woods, just around the pond, and really couldn't find too much other. There were other structures and things like that, and
the West Coast. When you talk to Richie,
structures are hard
telling you the West Coast is entirely different than the East Coast because we have so many storms blow through, blow downs, and I mean we just have it's hard to find a real structure, something that you can really catch your eye. I mean, it happens, but not that often. Now you go towards Bridgewater Triangle, that's a whole nother story. And that's where Richie and Wojo are, out in that area. It's a whole different woods.
So we go out this way here, and there's all kinds of bend trees and things like that. So it's very, they're out there, but I can't say a Bigfoot did it.
Right.
So there are other structures that we are seeing that we're just kind of passing off because I could take you out in my woods and show you a lot of them. But it doesn't mean they're not relevant. It just means they're out there, and this is part of the Bigfoot story. Can we link the two together? I hope we can. I hope there is something out there with it because tons of people see different stuff. And to dismiss, again, structures, I've actually got, I think we sent you pictures of twisted. That sapling came from being escorted out of the woods, and this thing was up in the mountain, and it was trashing. It was throwing stuff. It was trashing trees, and this one here was actually decent enough to take home. So he pulled the whole tree right out. Actually, it was halfway out of the ground already, and it was a full twist and a half. Actually,
we had gone. He
pulled it out.
He got pushed out of the woods. Him and his wife. We went back the next day, and we got that twist.
So, do they use the woods in a fashion? Absolutely. We know they would not. We know they break these things. We know we've been we've had tree shaking. So there is that portion to it. But at the same time, I can show you elk and bison and all these other animals that sit out there. It's 20 below and the wind's ripping and they're just living life, and they're not building shelters that really have no value because it's, stick structures, and stick structures, if they're not blocking the wind, there's not a lot of value to it. Even a gorilla can take a leaf and get out of the rain. At least it's doing something, and that's why it's doing it, because it worked once, it'll probably work twice. So why would you build a stick structure that's going to let you get all wet and snowy?
Yeah, there has to be another reason for it.
And I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I just can't wrap my head around it, so I don't understand it.
Because they are out there. There are. Yes, we have been sent many a picture.
I've had large trees that were stuck in saplings that shouldn't have been there, 10, 12 inches around, floating in saplings.
Yep.
We just took that in Connecticut. Just took a picture in Connecticut of this because it was an odd thing. This was way out of place. This should not be there, yet it's sitting there 10 feet in the air, floating, and it's a 20-foot log, 10, 12 inches around.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't have been there. It was like a clear cut 10 years ago, and now it's just sapling. And it wasn't like an old log or something like that.
To have it sit there was just out of the ordinary.
So stuff like that captures my attention, but there's a lot to be said for stick structures. And like I said, could you
got to
be
look
using
into
them
everything
for nests and stuff like that? Absolutely.
Well,
why not?
Other animals do it.
My brother's funny. He says, comb your hair. So there, I'm combing my hair. But Wojo has a question for you. Did you guys have rocks thrown at you, ? Any Bigfoot howls?
Yes, we have.
Yeah, that's a good question, Wojo.
We have. How much time do you have?
Connecticut.
Yeah.
We were working with a school group.
I was telling you earlier.
30 some odd people in this school group. We had just witnessed. It
was a Catholic school group.
There was a howl that night. There was a whistle that night. The owls, the coyotes were going crazy that night. atmosphere was electrified. It was just a really charged environment, let's say.
Different than normal. We've never had all of that at one time before.
Right. And then that morning, as we're leaving, something we both were aware something was on the other side of this large oak tree that had fallen with a full green canopy. Full of leaves.
You could hear it walk, and we thought it was a deer.
Yeah.
So walked over there and looked, but we didn't see anything. So I went back, and I was packing up my hammock.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, you could hear this thing coming through the tree that was laying there. You could hear it hitting the leaves and the branches all the way through, and it bounced right on the ground 15, 20 yards from us, and it was a rock the size of a candle pinball.
Yeah.
Damn.
And they did, and this canopy is 60 feet wide, 90 feet wide. It's not no slouch. You weren't going to throw that rock out.
There's nobody out there. It's a private school. They own the mountain.
Yeah. There was no one out there. So something threw that rock. And then, in New York, we had tree shaking, which was our first experience back in 2013.
Yeah.
Middle of a wilderness canoe trip, middle of nowhere. And these two trees start shaking like they're in a snow globe. And there's sticks and I don't know if there was rocks. There was things being thrown at us.
Or being shaken off the tree.
Yeah, we backed up. We were in a canoe. We backed up far enough to where we couldn't tell if it was a rock or, parts of a stick or the trees being. But it was certainly falling out and hitting the water, be it thrown at us or not. So, yeah, it certainly happened. Yep.
Okay. Now, my brother would like to know, how many footprints do you have you found?
We have.
Go ahead.
We have 6 footprints.
We have 6 casts.
Let's put it that way.
We've seen maybe a dozen foot tracks out of all the casts.
Yeah, but I don't waste my time on something I know isn't going to be there. You could pour it, but it's just not going to be there. The ones we have are good. Some of them have toes, other ones don't, but you can see where they would be. You can see the heel, the metatarsal. You can see all of that. You just can't catch the toes on everything. Yeah. But we sent you a print of a small set.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't get any clearer than that.
Right.
They look nice. I saw the pictures. By the way, where can my people who are listening to the show, where can they go and look at these pictures that you have taken?
You can go to the Vogel Brothers. There's going to be stuff on there. The Vogel Brothers is a Facebook page. Cobble Mountain Critter doesn't really have any of that stuff yet. We just haven't put it in there in the gallery.
But we will.
It's just stuff that we've just generally put out. We actually didn't share a lot of this stuff. We've been collecting it. It's just been in our own archive. Right. And it's only a recent thing that we've started sharing this stuff via podcast, and it's a good vehicle to get it out there and show this stuff.
Yeah. Libraries, everything else,
Part of the boots on the ground is out there. We want to get people to start sharing information.
Right.
We've got, I just said it, we had this stuff sitting in us, our dusty closet, here we are doing our Bigfoot. No one hears about it, but yet we want to hear, we want to tell you what's happened to us. We want to hear what's happened to you. And are there any similarities? Are there any patterns?
New England has some great investigators.
Yeah.
Rhode Island.
Mike Trainer.
Mike
Trainer, Rhode Island.
Then we have the East Coast of Mass. We got Richie and Wojo over there.
Yeah.
Right.
We're over here on the western end. We're out in the woods, Yeah. And we have New Hampshire.
My brother wants to know, did you track the tracks? He's kind of late to the show.
No, we actually tried.
Yeah, the problem is the tracks just
disappeared.
Yeah, I mean, literally just gone. You have
Believe it or not.
That was our best night, was a half a dozen tracks in one run, and that was all that was it. That was it.
Yeah. One good one that we could cast, but you could see the rest, but you just couldn't cast anything.
And mind you, when we've had these encounters or experiences, we've had multiple witnesses.
Yes.
New York, our first time we were alone together in a wilderness canoe setting. So we were alone, and that's what happened. Take it for what it is. But the rest, we were with a dozen people at a time in each different incident. So
At
there's
least-
plenty of witnesses to verify and back up what we have to say.
Oh yeah, we sent some
And
people
that's the
away.
beauty of it.
We've sent some people
Plenty
away
of
with not
witnesses.
just a camping trip and an educational weekend, but we sent them away with some great Bigfoot
Yeah.
encounters
Sweet.
that they don't even realize that they had.
And that's great, man, because what that does, it just shows the community. Hey, I met the people out there that do not belong in the community that, the Bigfoot, exists. That's just like whenever I would do open investigations for the paranormal, I would take people and say, come on down, man, because we'll take you out, and it's just like, first thing I tell them is, I'm not here to change your minds, okay? If you're a skeptic, you're a skeptic. That's okay. I don't, I'm not going to try, like tell you not to be a skeptic anymore. But I bring them on and I let them learn. I let them get that experience. And then it's their decision if they want to continue or not continue. And I'm pretty cool with it. But my man, Squatch Man, he was a guest on my show. And I do believe he is from South Carolina. And he calls them his kids or his friends or his family, whatever. I don't know what it is, but he's an avid Bigfoot hunter, investigator. And I asked him about the smell of the Bigfoot, okay, and he believes that it's the mother protecting the children from human beings. What do you think?
That's the second or third time I've actually heard that, like a skunk putting out a pheromone or a
Right.
smell.
Sort of like a distractor or a place that, puts a barrier between you and them.
Right. Okay.
Possibly.
And
My
maybe
friend-
the
Go ahead, please.
others them. Maybe.
Holly, my friend Holly, what was your scariest Bigfoot encounter?
New York for me. We didn't know it was Bigfoot. We didn't know what it was.
True.
But this thing was shaking trees for well over 10 minutes, shaking nonstop trees that turned to be 8 to 10 inches around, both 8 feet apart, and they were
At
shaking
least.
like snow globes, and it was roaring the entire time.
Right.
We paddled backwards and got further out because the roaring got so loud, so aggressive. We thought it was coming out
We actually
of the
backed,
water.
yeah, we actually backed
Never
out
did.
halfway across the lake.
And you
before
could feel it.
actually.
So that was pretty darn scary. We were clueless as to Bigfoot.
Yeah.
We're thinking maybe it's a mountain lion and a bear getting into it, maybe 2 or 3. We just didn't have any idea.
It was so thick back in there.
It was scary.
It was hard to believe that there was anything in there because it was so thick.
Right.
And we're a couple days into a canoe trip, so you just
Yeah, you just can't go home.
when this happened, we're staying that we only went out fishing for lunch, and we ended up going back to our campsite, which is only a couple of 100 yards away from where we just experienced
Same
this.
side.
It's on the same side of the lake, and that's where our campsite is. We're a couple of 100 yards away from this thing.
That's craziness. Well,
There's
my
no-
friend, I hate to cut this short, and I would love to have you back on my show again next month or some other time. Then we can continue with the stories if you're up for it.
Absolutely. Yeah,
That would be great.
Boots on the ground.
that's it.
That's right, Boots on. Tim, are you a hugger? LOL, love you guys. Awesome show, guys.
What's wrong with a handshake? I'm an old school handshake.
So, how can people get a hold of you or want to learn more about what you guys do in the Bigfoot community and to see the pictures? Or
You can go to our Facebook page, the Vogel Brothers.
Right.
You can catch us on Instagram, the Vogel Brothers. And you can catch us on the Cabo Mountain Critter website,
Right.
Cabo Mountain Critter Project. And that gives you everything. That gives you the events, that gives you what we're doing, dates, times, the whole 9 yards.
Actually, Eric will update the photos on the Facebook page because that would be the easiest. It's just something we hadn't done before. But
I'm trying to figure it all out.
share them all out, but we'll put some really good stuff out there. And so the folks that watch tonight will understand what we've been talking about. We've got the tracks, we've got all those photos and whatnot. So we'll certainly put it on the Vogel Brothers page.
When I get it all together and I get it on, I'll make sure I make the announcement on the Vogel Brothers page.
I appreciate that. Again, guys, thank you for coming on. It was a great show tonight. A lot of interesting things were said tonight, and I'm definitely going to get you two back on. Maybe, like I talked before the show, get you, Wojo, you guys and Wojo and Richie B on and have a big show. You know, maybe go 2 hours if I can swindle it. You know what I mean? I don't know. But again, thank you for coming on, and you have a good night and happy hunting, guys.
You too.
Thank you.
Have a good
Boots
night.
on the ground.
God bless.
Boots on the ground. Bye. What a story, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you what, it was awesome. It was awesome. You know, I got one more week of Bigfoot, and I don't know where we're going to go to next for the following month. But I'm telling you what, it was a great show tonight. The Vogel Brothers, Eric and Tim, they had a lot of good things to say. And if you missed the first part of the show, we are definitely going to have them on again. Maybe next month, you know. I don't know. I really enjoyed them. So it's not just Washington State, California, Oregon that have the Bigfoot. It is true that there's a ton of Bigfoot action over here on the East Coast. Children, if you can, please go to your parents, give them a hug, and tell them that you love them. And parents, please go to your children, give them a hug, and tell them that you love them. And if you don't have no parents and you have no children, find somebody, give them a hug, and tell them that you love them. Because those 3 words, I love you, go a long way. And on that note, good night, have a nice week, and I will definitely see you next Sunday. Who knows what the show's going to be. Good night, everybody. Enjoy the week. Wrong one, guys. Hold on.